My name is Tela, but I go by the Phoenix of Eden. I am born in the Crescent, but I was raised in the woods. I am 39, soon to be 40. My first experience with love was spiritual, and I was about 11 years old. What is love? Love is forgiveness. Love is patience. Love is growing. Love is honesty. Love is transparent. Love is painful. Love is scary. Love is uncomfortable. But I couldn't imagine my life without it. Black love is vast, just like femininity is vast. You know, it's hard to put it in a box, and I think as I get older, because I'm turning 40 this summer, I'm realizing a lot of things that I thought were supposed to be for me, they weren't for me, and I tried to make them for me. 5 to 7 years ago, my grandmother passed away. She was like my best friend in the whole wide world. She had legally adopted me. She was my mama. She was everything to me, like, you know, my best friend. So when she passed away, a few months after that, I met this guy, and I took his last name. That's why my last name is legally Love. So I took his last name, and that began the journey. And I tried to assume all of these roles that I thought as a black woman we should take, you know, and which is so confusing, because I'm starting to realize that the Bible, which tells us, you know, we're supposed to obey, we're supposed to submit, we're supposed to surrender, and the Bible means about as much good to black women as the Constitution means to black people. And so for me to come to that realization, it started to tear me apart from him, because I didn't want to submit. And then I started to think, well, maybe I don't want to submit because I was born male. You know, I started thinking maybe that's why I wasn't, you know, meant to be with him. Maybe, you know, what everybody was saying, that, you know, this is wrong, you know. But then I started to meet other black women who were biological cis women who had the same struggles. And so my eyes started to open that it wasn't because I was trans, it was because of the brokenness that our community, that the black community has, you know. Even like when he went to jail, I grew in one direction and he grew in another direction. I started traveling to fill that void because I had never been without a partner. You know, I always had a partner. I didn't know what real love was until I got with him, but I always had a bed buddy or somebody to keep me company, to pass the time with. But when he went to jail, I really, like, I messed up a couple of times in 2.5 years, but for like 1 year of my life, I was abstinent. I didn't have sex at all. And during that year, I accomplished so much creatively, and I grew so much, but I left him. You know, when he came home from jail, he was more repressed. He couldn't talk, he couldn't communicate. And all I wanted to do was communicate. And so the way that he communicated was so hard and cold, because, and I understand this because that was a mechanism that he picked up in order to survive in such a dark place. And I don't even want to use the word dark, I want to say shadow.
Why?
Because I don't want to equate darkness as bad, you know. He was in that place, you know, and he grew inside of himself and I grew outside of myself. And it hurts me because I wanted us to stay in that space where we were. Like some things I still like doing. I don't care if they say, it's aiding and abetting patriarchy or not. I still like to cook and I still like to bring him his plate and I still like to do things like that. But I'm conscious that, as a feminine being, I am not your leftovers. I am not half of something without you. I am whole, you are whole, and together we come together and we form a whole nother entity. But it's not me looking for my other half, because I've learned to realize, and it was a journey of self-acceptance. At first, I was like a lot of trans women. Okay, so when you have the sex change in the trans community, typically you're supposed to assimilate into society and you go into hiding. So if you're post-op, then you live your life as a biological female, and you still talk to the community, but you're not very visible, in the community. Like, I can't get any post-op girls 2 or 3 years after they've had the surgery to do anything in the public, especially in Louisiana. It's really hard. Like, pre-op girls will, but the more passable she gets in her transition, the less she wants to be in front of the camera as a trans woman, because the stigma that surrounds being trans is so negative. So that was one of the reasons why I knew that I couldn't go into stealth, because there would have been no role models. And when I think about everything that has happened in my life, because I didn't have any visible role models who gave me variety, because I had role models that were doing sex work, I had role models that were pickpocketing, I had role models that were working at strip clubs. I had those kind of role models, but I didn't have the role models that were preachers, lawyers, doctors, nurses, who were poets and writers and who were artists. I saw those gifts in them buried deep beneath all of that stuff, that society places on us, but it wasn't coming out. So all of my whole support system were people who were addicts, who were sex workers, and so I didn't have that variety. And because I didn't have balance, a balanced circle of friends, it led me down a path that led me to becoming a crack addict, that led me to testing positive for HIV, that led me to all of these different things that could have been avoided if I wouldn't have come from a place that told me that I was wrong. Like when I was growing up, I can remember all of the relationships that I were in, because I didn't have a problem getting a boyfriend when I was a boy, because men typically want to be able to be a secret. They want to, as long as they could keep it a secret. They always knew, like a lot of them knew I was feminine. They knew that I had the potential to be a girl. So some of them would encourage it, and then others would be like, if you do, I have to disassociate myself from you. I can't be around you. So I had a relationship with this guy who was a choir director, and he was a school teacher, and he was older than me, and I was like 14 or 15 years old. And I'll never forget, I adored him because everybody in the community respected him. My grandmother trusted him, told her she had no idea what was going on. And this guy, when I decided to transition for myself, because I didn't want, guys to be able to sneak around with me. I didn't want to be the secret. I wanted guys to be with me in the light. Don't be ashamed to be with me. So my transition was my defiance, saying that if you're gonna be around me, everybody's gonna know, and then my transition became about safety, because I was always very feminine looking. Even when I was younger, boys would say when I wore certain hairstyles that I looked like a girl, and girls would say the same thing. They would tease me. So And it was crazy, because when I was younger, I flirted with girls and I liked girls and I couldn't, and I knew it wasn't the same type of like that boys, the average boys liked girls. Like I think that I am emotionally and spiritually attracted to women, and I'm physically attracted to men. And I don't even know why I'm physically attracted to men. And I think now I'm at the process of trying to break that down, because everything that's feminine, if it's not toned, or if it's not thin, or if it doesn't look a certain way, then we say it's ugly. And that was what my grandmother said too. My grandmother said, you could be gay, just don't be a woman. And she wanted me to be able to access patriarchy. I mean, I don't think that that's how she saw it at the time, but she didn't want my life to be harder, because she knew how hard it was as a black woman. So she didn't want me to have to experience all of that. So she was trying to protect me from that. I didn't know that. I just thought she didn't want me to be me. My grandmother knew I was different. She did not want me to be what I was, and at first she did not accept it. And the funny thing about it was, the last time I saw my grandmother, I actually video recorded, and I wrote out this big old long poem, and I forgave her for everything, all of the hard times and stuff. And we were sitting on the bed, and this was the last time that I physically saw her. And I was sitting on her bed, and she said, boy, you need to do this. And I said, Mama. And she said, okay, girl. And that was her validating me, and that was the last conversation I ever had with her. And I knew she meant it, and I knew she really finally saw me, and she understood that it wasn't a phase. It was my mother who I watched fight women twice her size, and my great-grandmother, when my grandma and my grandfather was fighting, who came down the street with a double-barrel shotgun to defend us. Not my great-grandpa, my great-grandma. And my great-grandma actually beat up my grandma was actually beating up my grandpa. So all of these, they did the garden, they did the fruits and vegetables. When I got into a fight at school, they was the one who brought me to the boy house and made me fight him again. In every aspect of my life, one of my great grandmothers was mowing yards at 70 years old. So, and I remember when my great grandmother died, how none of the fruit would grow on the trees and nothing would grow in the garden. And so the black woman was everything to me. I didn't see her as, but I was only a child. I was 13 going on 14. And my whole world, in my mind, the black woman was a goddess, And I mean, I saw all of these images of white people as divine. And because as a child, I read a lot, but I stopped reading as much when my auntie told me that was something that punks did. She wanted me to be tougher. She wanted me to be able to fight, because the world that she came up in, it was hard. And I realized that the bad stuff that was happening to me wasn't happening to me because I was trans, and it wasn't happening to me because it wasn't happening to me because I was trans, but it was happening to me because I was feminine. It was happening to me because femininity is considered a weakness. Like when we talk to little boys and we see little boys crying and stuff like that, we say, stop acting like a girl, or, and stuff like that. So all of that's embedded in my mind. And so I'm thinking, I need him. I need him to make me feel safe in my house. I need him to protect me. I need him to check and make sure the doors are locked, to take out the trash. And when he was gone and I didn't have nobody to do that, and I had to be by myself, and I had to figure out how to do all this stuff myself, I got stronger, and I started remembering how strong all of the women were in my family. And so I started to access that. But that intimidates men. And this confidence and this knowing who you are. And so I stopped praying to, I stopped saying, Jesus, Heavenly Father, and I stopped doing that because I feel like in this life, if I'm attracted to a man, I got to get on my knees to give him head. Then I got to get on my knees to pray to him. I got to get on my knees for a man all the time. I'm just tired of it. I went into the streets and I started back doing sex work. And that night I embarrassed myself, honey, in alleyways and having sex with strangers for a little bit of nothing. And I got to the last date of the night and I was giving him fellatio, and he gave me $20, and then every time I tried to stop, he'd give me another 20. So all in all, he gave me about $150. He wanted, after he couldn't get an orgasm because he was too drunk, he wanted his money back. Now, I'm not a person who really likes to suck dick. So I done all of this work and you telling me you want your money back. So, you know, we went parked in this little alley and he started fumbling around in the back seat and he pulled out a gun on me. Now, this was when the light went off that he wasn't mistreating me because I was trans, because I was on a female stroll. I wasn't on the trans stroll. Like, the trans stroll was a block over.
Okay.
And so I was on a female stroll, so this man didn't know that I was trans. And he was just trying to mess over me because he saw me as a weak-ass woman. And that was when the light went off in my head. Like this just happened like 2 years ago. And when it happened, I realized that the violence that happens is not about my trans experience. It's about my feminine experience. And to be honest, that's what pushed me into being a woman, because back in the day when I was younger, I mean, I was always very comfortable with my femininity, but I did used to have my tomboyish, you know, days where I just threw on a t-shirt and a hat and just went on. And amazingly enough, those would be the days when no one clocked me. Like, everybody just thought I was a woman, you know. But when I was actually putting some effort into it, that was when I got clocked. So, he never seen a trans woman with that kind of confidence. And he found that extremely attractive. So, we grew, and he started to push me. Like, he would, like, and it wasn't a push like, you need to do this, you gotta do this. It was like, if I was nervous, because I did public access for like a year and a half.
Public what?
Public access TV.
Okay.
And when I did it, I was so nervous because I knew, you know, by increasing my visibility, more people were gonna know he was with a trans woman. And so I was always concerned about how this was gonna affect him, because I don't really run around in the hood, but he do. Like, I live in the hood, but I wasn't like, it's like I'm the type of person, I be in the hood, but I don't be in the hood. Like I go in my house and I go to the store and I come home. I'll speak to people, but I don't sit up with the neighbors and sit on the porch and go around the corner and see what Smokey and Noonie doing. I don't do that, you know, but he does. So I was worried about how that was going to affect him with my visibility, him not being able to go nowhere and everybody not know he was with a trans woman. Now, when we were out in public, because I'm passable, he really didn't have no issues, but I'm telling people, you know, it's like I already got the YouTube channel and now I'm doing public access. So, like, I'm telling everybody. And that wasn't, I don't think he never did have a problem with that. Our relationship really started to feel strained when I became visible about my status. Like, on top of that, you're trans and you're positive. So, like, that was a lot. That was a lot for him to handle, me being visible about all of that. But the reason why I named the ministry New Legacy is because I wanted a new legacy for myself. I didn't want to be remembered as a prostitute or a drug addict. I wanted to be remembered for other things that I had accomplished, and I wanted him to be able to be, and that's what he wanted too. Like, we wanted a safe space where we could be ourselves and we didn't have to be in dangerous places. Like, the whole point of it was to create a safe space where we could come together and hang out and tell our stories and share our stories and feel like community. And it was going fine, but again, before I had my sex change, we fought a lot because I was, I've always had men to beat on me as a child. My stepdaddy beat on me, my uncle beat on me. So when me and him first got together, when he would say things smart to me, one of my husbands beat on me. So by the time I got to him, I was like, you niggas ain't beating on me no more. I'm finna beat on y'all. So I started hitting him. And that was how I grew in this relationship. I actually can tell him thank you. I'm thankful for everything. I'm thankful for the good, the bad, the ugly. I'm thankful for the perceivable ups and downs, the wrongs and rights, because loving him helped me to give birth to the greatest thing that I've ever done, and that's New Legacy. Wanting to push other people, like I was just really trying to make a safe space for me and him. I wanted us to be comfortable and for us to be able to be in a space where we could be comfortable around other people. But in that process, like, I've seen other people's lives change. So for me, what love looks like for me now is loving someone truly without conditions, like loving them where they are, and maybe not being able to have physical love. Maybe you have to alter the love. Maybe the love has to be platonic. Maybe the love has to be from a distance. I grew up on Disney movies, so I always thought that, my prince was supposed to come along and save me, and we were supposed to live happily ever after, and we wasn't supposed to argue, and everything was supposed to be magical and beautiful. And then you even hear, a lot of black people buying into this because they be saying, oh, I can't deal with the stress and the drama. Love ain't supposed to hurt. Well, why the fuck it's not? Even in this story that we hear about Jesus went to this cross, was murdered and tortured and beaten. All these things were done in the name of love. So, like, to me, if love does not come into your life and turn it upside down, if it does not stretch you, if it does not punch you in your face and kick you in your stomach, I don't know what the fuck you were feeling. I just don't. I don't. If you're not growing, you're not in love, you're in convenience. And I don't want to be inconvenienced. I don't mind being challenged, and I don't mind being pushed. But when it comes to the point to whereas you're pushing me in a wrong direction, that's when it's a problem. I used to think being with black men were like, I felt like, oh, it's the beat of the drum, my brother. I used to be that one. I am not that no more. Like, for real.
What tore you down?
Christianity. I think that every black man has been influenced by Christianity in some way, shape, form, or fashion. Like, it's impacted Christianity and the prison system. And the prison system is a product of Christianity, so they're all, these guys go to prison and they get in that Bible in there, and them backwoods preachers be preaching that foolishness, and it just keeping them asleep, and I can't deal with it. Like, it's I feel like, I say this all the time because, now I've self-proclaimed myself a goddess. Like, I've embraced my divinity. And I feel like Prometheus, on that rock. And every day I let this black man, my brother, I let him come and I let him eat at my liver, and you drain me and you suck me dry, and then I regenerate the next day for you to come and do the same shit again. And it's tiring. It's tiring. Like I don't want to have to keep regenerating myself. I want to grow. I want to thrive. I want to expand in consciousness. Because I believe if you don't get it right this time, you got to come back and do it again. So I don't want to have to do this again just because I'm trying to hold on to you. Where I am in my life, if I was to drop dead today or tomorrow, I tell people all the time, it's well with my soul, because I know who I am. I know who and whose I am. But my struggle is there are some people that I would like to see again in forever after. And so I'm trying to wake you up because I want to see you again, sister. I want to see you again, brother. And maybe it's selfish of me to want to see certain people a little bit more. Maybe it's selfish for me to want to see people who look like me a little bit more. Maybe that's selfish, but I do. I want to see certain people again. So I struggle with them because we have free will. You know, if I don't want to, I can go to the doctor and get me a lovely prescription and say, in the famous words of Erykah Badu, I guess I'll see you next lifetime. But I don't. The best thing is for trans women to embrace their whole self. You know, that's the best advice I could give. Like, embrace your whole self. Love your masculine energy. Love your feminine energy. Know that you're whole, because people will tell you that you're not whole. People will tell you that you're less than. And I honestly feel like anyone who is not comfortable with their whole self, they're the one who's not whole. You know, if everybody on this planet has masculine and feminine energy, we just all rock it differently. You know, that's what I tell people. We all rock it differently. And I tell them when they tell me, oh, well, you're not supposed to shave your head if you're a girl, and oh, you're not supposed to walk like that, and or you're not supposed to talk with your voice that deep. I say, baby, you can't define my pussy. You cannot define it. You're not going to tell me how to define my pussy. So not just trans women, but any human being, you know, who is looking for love. You know, before you can access love, you have to make sure that you're happy with yourself. You have to make sure that you've accepted yourself. You have to accept that. And I just like where I am now, and I hope that I can meet someone who compliments that. But I'm starting to get discouraged.